And welcome back to a special, unbelievable bench right here on JKLIVE. Most of the people in the first half were deaf, but right next to me, two people. Listen to this story. Leon Guata is raising a deaf child. He became deaf from the age of 2.5. He's now 12. And right next to him is Victor Gitonga. He was raised by two parents who are deaf. My goodness. Blair, so how did your child become deaf?
Yeah, so my child became deaf from meningitis. So he was born a preterm baby. And so from birth, he had a lot of challenges growing up and even achieving his milestones. But then after some time, he started, improving. And later on, then just before he started going to school, that is when now he got meningitis. And he was hospitalized for like 1 month. And then from hospital, going back home, he was totally disabled at that particular point. So he could not walk, he could not stand, he could not sit, and then he could not hear. So it was a journey of taking him through a lot of therapy. So he recovered and he's able to walk. He can play football very well, but then he did not hear again. So since then, he is a deaf boy because he has a sensory neural hearing loss, bilateral, and it is profound.
But
yes.
The rest of his, everything else is okay? He healed in every other way?
Yes, he healed in every other way, yes.
And you have other children?
Yes, I do.
None of them got meningitis?
None.
How do they treat their sibling?
The first thing after I discovered that he was deaf, I had to learn some sign language, and then I taught all of them because at that particular age, it is not possible for him to go to school. So navigating through that space of how do I now communicate with my baby. So I learned sign language, and then I had to teach the three of them how to sign. So they all communicate through sign language, yes.
And he's in school now?
Yeah, he's in school.
Normal school, sorry for lack of a better word. Is it normal school or special school?
He's in a special school for the deaf.
Okay, everybody's deaf there?
Yes.
Okay, and how's he doing?
Just the normal challenges of schooling for deaf children, but he's doing well, yeah.
Does he ask his mother, will I be able to hear one day?
Yes, he asks that a lot. Actually, recently he told me he wishes he could be able to hear again because I tell him the stories of how he lost his hearing. And so sometimes he tells me how the sisters are lucky because they are benefiting from both worlds, where when we are signing, they understand, and when we are speaking, they understand. But for him, he was saying, I feel like I'm quite unlucky because I can't be able to hear what you guys are saying, but you can understand my language. Yeah, so yes, sometimes he wishes he could be able to hear like everybody else in the family. Yes.
Victor Gitonga, you were raised by parents, both of whom are deaf.
Yes. For me, basically, when I grew up, I was raised in a deaf household. My father was deaf and my mom was hard of hearing. So my mom could partially hear and she could use assistive devices to help her, like the hearing aid. So for me, naturally, I could say that I naturally learned sign language, like a lot of people learn their mother tongue and all that. So for me, basically growing up, sign language was the language I knew. I think, if I remember very well, that's the first language I actually learned before English and Swahili. Because at times as a child, you face a lot of challenges. You ask for this and your mom gives you this because she tries to read your mouth. She tries to read the lips, but as a child, the pronunciation and the movement of the lips is quite hard. So it was quite a challenge growing up, but I don't remember it being hard because that's the household I was raised in. So it was normal for me.
How did your parents meet?
Basically, they told me they met in one of the conferences and the events. Basically, African setups, they don't talk a lot about those stories.
Sure.
But it was just basically they met in an event.
Like in a deaf conference,
yes,
sort of thing?
Yes, a deaf conference, yes. Oh. That's where they met and the rest is history.
Yeah, clearly. And they decided to get together and then, obviously, because they were both deaf.
Yes.
Do you have siblings?
I have siblings, yes. I have a smaller sister who's younger and she's also hearing. So the parents are the only ones who are deaf. in the household.
Was it difficult growing up? I mean, trying to come to terms with...
I wouldn't say it was difficult because, like I said, that was the household I was raised in. I never knew any other life, so I couldn't have any other to compare to. But at some point it was because we could be walking around town, and when they meet with the friends, like you said, they stop and talk, and you're hungry, all you want to do is go eat. So it was difficult, but I can say I'm just used to it in a way. It's just the normal things I go by every day.
Do you have to take your parents around if they want to go shopping, let's say, or to visit friends and stuff? Do you have to accompany them?
I do most times, but the few times that I'm not there, they are used to it, and that's the kind of life they do. But most times, almost every time, I'm their personal interpreter.
Leah, do you find that your son is totally dependent on you at 12 years old?
No, he's not. Because one of the things that I have learned as a parent is to also help him to navigate through life by himself. So I told him that he has to learn how to, to also interact with the other children. And sometimes when I'm not there, the sisters are there, they can interpret for him. But if none of us is there, then we have also taught him that he can find ways in which he can communicate through gestures. And I've found that to be working for him. But most of the time, he will feel like he needs to depend on somebody to help him navigate.
All right, we still have Joseph and Monica and Georgine and Richard with us. Georgine, there's something that's known as deaf culture. What is deaf culture?
Before I start explaining about deaf culture, I have seen something, captions. It said deaf and dumb. We have always been against that. Media houses using deaf and dumb. Why? Because we are only deaf. The inability to speak is because we cannot hear. If you grew up without hearing, then it means you'll not be able to speak. So please, we are only deaf, not deaf and dumb. Number two, part of the deaf culture is that we accept ourselves as deaf people. We have a language, we have a culture, we have identity, and we are proud of that. So when people force us to say that we are hearing impaired, normally, hearing people feel that we are hearing impaired, it's a better word to use because deaf is abusive. No. For us, we are deaf because of the language, the identity, the culture, and the pride. When you say that we are hearing impaired, it means that we need to be fixed. Our hearing needs to be fixed. But generally, that's not the case. We can communicate in a different way. That means that we use sign language. For me, culture is the language. Maybe the rest of my colleagues can add in.
Joseph wants to say something?
I would say for me, deaf culture means that we can do anything that we have a right to. We can. Deaf culture, we believe in ourselves. We can participate in sports. We can as well, as my sister has mentioned, we can be proud that we are deaf because we've already accepted ourselves. I've accepted myself, as you can see. I'm deaf and I accept myself, and I'm proud of that. Why? Because as a hearing individual, if you go into the water and we speak, I know you can be able to drown, isn't it? Because you're trying to speak, but when we're in the water, we can sign. We can sign when they're in the water. Now, when someone is far away from you, you have to shout, isn't it? But for us as deaf individuals, we can use our sign and communicate very proudly. So when we say, I'll reiterate, deaf and dumb, it's an abusive language to us. Thank you.
In addition...
Hold on. You would make a very good soldier, you know that. Richard, you want to say something?
Yes. In addition, on deaf culture, this is mostly around the way of life for the deaf people. And honestly, or whatever Georgine had said about the language, and one funny thing about the deaf community is that it's the only disability where we can reverse the roles. Like a hearing person can find that they need to be assisted. There are churches for the deaf, where a pastor is deaf, the songs are signed, and everything is in sign language. So if Jeff went to this church, you will need an interpreter to tell you what's happening to the church. But the deaf people will be okay. So you will be the one who needs an interpreter. When you go to a school for the deaf and the teachers are signing, and the roles will be reversed in this situation because the hearing person will need support, not the deaf people. So the deaf people have that pride in themselves. And also you'll find that there are norms for the deaf. We have places like social clubs where deaf people go. And also we also have how deaf people communicate. For example, if you are in a big room, a big hall, sorry, and you want to get the attention of the deaf people, so I'll just switch off the lights and switch them on again. And so the deaf people will just look up and they will see whatever I wanted to communicate with them. So you'll find things like vibrators, all that. So one thing that the Kenyan community should know is that deaf people are very direct in communication. Because if a person has passed on, if you see a hearing person will say that the person passed on, but for a deaf person they'll just say they died. Because they don't have idioms. We don't say kick the bucket. No, we cannot sign kick the bucket. Because a hearing person will understand that kick the bucket. But for a deaf person, it will be literally kicking this bucket. So, like maybe you can say that the Lamb of God, some people say Lamb of God. For a hearing person will understand a Lamb of God. But for a deaf person will just say Jesus, God and all that. So the deaf people are very direct. If maybe you see a person, they are nice, you'll just tell them they're nice. But if they are not looking good, they are ugly, you just tell them they are ugly. We just sign. We don't try to cover and all that. Because that is the deaf community.
Yeah.
So if a deaf person likes a girl, they'll just go directly and tell them you're beautiful and I like you. They'll not just go around and all that. That's the deaf culture.
All right. I want you all to turn your attention to that screen over there because we went out to ask people about how they have interacted with deaf people. You know, just random people, how they've interacted. Take a listen to what they had to say.
Ngamana nao na shida ilikuwa wakati tunaongeleshana anakuambia kitu na wewe ushiki ni nini anasema. So wakati unamjibu wenye aliexpect umjibu nao unajibu opposite. So unakuta ni kwamba hamuelewani. So kuna incident moja ambao mtu alikuja kuniuzia kitu fulani. So tunakibikishana bei. Sasa mimi sikujua nimemwambia vibaya. Alinikimbiza karibu hata nigonge.
Napatanaga nao wanakuja time zingine anaweza kuja anataka kunyora style. Kulingana na vile anakuelezea ushiki na hawezi kuandikia. Sasa ikifika tena ni kwa bei, inabidi kuna wengine wanajua kuandika, kuna wengine wajui kuandika. Sasa inakuwa bado ni changamoto. Watu huwa tunasukuma tu pia.
Kama ni kubargain Kenyan style, we are used to bargaining. Wakati mtu ana bargain inakuwa ngumu sisi kuelewana. So my concern inaweza taka ikuwe kama vile tunakuwa na English, Kiswahili kama lugha ambayo inafunzwa katika darasa. Braille inataka ikuwe incorporated kwa syllabus ya Kenya katika kama saizi vile kuna CBC. It should be one of those yenye itawekwa ndani ya syllabus ili wale wako na changamoto ya kuongea na kusikia pia wa feel wako wamekuwa considered.
Georgina, I see you're laughing very. Is it something you have experienced when going shopping?
Yes. Normally, I love bargaining. And it's really hard. And especially if I find something really nice and I want them to lower the cost and I want to negotiate and it will take a whole hour, then I'll, just leave and they'll tell me to come back. I'll point 3 and they'll say 2. So they say 1.5 and we continue until a point where we agree. But it's a nice experience.
Yeah. Joseph, you too?
Yes. I've seen bargaining. When they want to increase the price, we go lower and lower and lower. We try as much as we can to go lower so that just what Georgina has mentioned. There's no difference. So there's no need of assuming. So what a hearing person can do, we can also do.
Monica, do you find that as well? I mean, do you find that they raise the price because you're deaf, or you wouldn't understand, if they raise the price intentionally?
Yes, I have seen that happening because sometimes they will not know that I'm deaf. But first of all, when you go, you'll find something is very expensive. So when they see me signing, then I'll start bargaining and negotiating. Because sometimes when you go and you're finding something is very expensive, you'll say that I will not buy. You try and negotiate. And when they feel, or I feel like the price is okay, and then I'll just go and I'll be okay. I'll buy. Yeah.
Victor, what do you miss most about being raised by two parents who were deaf?
I wouldn't say I miss anything specifically because I'm still being raised by them, and I've never experienced the other part of their life. But I can say one experience I really wish I could do is the screaming in the house, because there's a lot of screaming. Like I said, my mom is hard of hearing, and most times she'll be in the kitchen and you're in the sitting room, and she will call you, and for you to know, maybe she's calling you just to ask you something, for you to know that you have to scream back for her to hear, because she hears the noise, a few noises and all that, because she doesn't use the hearing aid anymore. She felt comfortable being her normal self, like they said. They are really proud about that, and I can say I miss the peace and quiet, but that's what makes me who I am. Normally, I cannot whisper because I'm used to shouting to my mom and all that. But yeah, basically that's it.
Yeah. You find yourself shouting a lot?
A lot. I'm a very loud person, normally.
Nothing wrong with that. And Leah, do you find these challenges as well with your 12-year-old?
Yes, because sometimes he would try to say something, but I think he has also taught us a lot when we have him in the house as a deaf person. But yes, there is a lot of noise in the house when he's around.
Yeah. Richard, you were talking about that 2 million shilling gadget that they could put in your ear. Are those things still available? Are they, for any one of you, would if they were available and affordable, would you all fit those devices in your ears?
Well, so in Kenya, previously, many years ago, we never used to have that service. It was in South Africa, or maybe but a few years ago, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, Aga Khan can do cochlear surgery. There's a team of surgeons who can do that surgery. But it is very expensive. Right now it's around 3 million Kenya shillings. And in Kenya, right now in Kenya. So now there's politics against that, because deaf people do not like that, because they find that it's not that effective, because sometimes there might be some challenges. Because you see, this is not natural sound. It's a robotic sound. So it's not that effective. But some parents can report and say that their children have benefited so well. And that, so it depends more on the rehabilitation, on how to use it. Because you have to be taught how to lip read, because you have to learn how to use it. Because you can put it and then tomorrow, you cannot speak tomorrow, no, you have to learn. Because many deaf people will feel it's the best option will be sign language, because that's natural and easy.
Yeah. Georgine, would you?
For me, I can say it's just because you miss something doesn't mean you want it back. I miss some aspect of the hearing world, as I said, the beach and the music and the birds and all that, and my children as well. But I love being deaf because of the language, the identity, the culture, the togetherness, the community. It's fantastic. And also because I don't pay taxes. If I become hearing, I start paying taxes. I'm sorry.
KRA is not going to come after you, eh?
No. We are tax exempted.
I love that. Monica?
I just want to remain a deaf person from the time I was young. I think when I became deaf, I am just satisfied. I'm okay. It's hard for me to become deaf. If I get the surgery, then I'll have a lot of problem adapting again. I have to go back, get a lot of issues. I think I am just normal and I'm okay. Let me just stay like that. That's my nature and I'm okay.
Yeah. Joseph?
What are you questioning me about? I'll say truly myself, for that, I have no interest at all 100%. I won't accept it until Jesus comes.
Wow. Wow. Okay, before we get to some final thoughts, real quick, there's a bill in Parliament right now, right? It's called the Kenya Sign Language Bill, right? Explain that to us. Where is it? What's it about? Who's going to explain to me? Georgine or Richard?
Okay, this is Richard. Yes, it's true. We have two bills. One by Senator Asige, and the other one by Honorable Umi. So one is in the National Assembly and the other one is in Senate. Right now, both bills have already gone through public participation, and now they also did second reading. Because I remember I heard that the speaker had said that they need harmonization. Both bills need harmonization because both are KSL bills. The Senate Bill 2023 and the National Assembly Bill 2024. So now the deaf community is more supportive of the bill in the National Assembly by Honorable Umi, because this bill is more progressive and also it establishes a council. And this is a very strong, it will be a very strong body, because we will say that Honorable Umi's bill is a money bill, but the other one is not a money bill. So this one needs money, which is in the National Assembly, because it will establish a council, and this body will be responsible of regulating the use and development of Kenyan Sign Language. And so at the same time, it will also regulate the interpreters, and it will be giving life to Article 7B of the Constitution, because that says that government will promote use of sign language. So the deaf community is more supportive of this bill. Now, the opposite is the one that is at Senate. We feel that this is not the best bill, because it establishes the office of the registrar, which is more like a secondment. It will be like a secondment, just getting another officer, telling them to sit in this and regulate sign language. So, because as a professional, you need a body that will regulate the interpreters, that will teach the use of sign language, and that will register sign language in Kenya. So, that's what the deaf community in Kenya feel that it is practical if we have a body that is formed by deaf people themselves are there, and also we have representatives of the interpreters, and also we have government representatives in this board, which will be able to support the development of curriculums and all that. This one is better than the other one, just having a desk in maybe in a ministry and all that. So our prayer is that the government and the legislators, the MPs, will consider and pass the bill, because this bill, when passed, it will change the life of deaf Kenyans.
How far is it?
I think the last time, I think they needed harmonization to harmonize the two bills, because the speaker had said that he wants to harmonize both bills, because there are differences in context, but just one is Senate 2023, the other one is National Assembly 2024. So the speaker had said they need to be harmonized.
Yeah. Tell me, is there any deaf legislator in Parliament, any MP, senator, any?
Never. But the deaf people are very active in politics, including UDA. They are very active, and they are very frustrated because they were never appointed. Because their first list, yes, they were there. We had senators, MCAs, but later they were removed from the lists. They were removed from those lists. So they're not happy, and they're just waiting. They were just waiting for appointment, but they were never appointed. So the deaf people are not happy. And also, other people with other disabilities have been considered, but we've never seen a deaf person being considered. And the deaf people were very, very upset because they feel that the government does not recognize them. We do not have a deaf MP in Kenya. We've never had in history. Not because the deaf are not active. No, they are very, very active politically. But the problem is that the communication barrier, because we'll end up having our names removed. If you look at the list, the Senate list, we had a deaf person there. Before the first list in UDA, we also had a senator there, but the names were removed. And also in the ODM list, there was a deaf person, but they were removed and they were taken. And also we pray that we will get a deaf MP.
Maybe it all fell on deaf ears. Oops. Let's go to the magic. I'm sorry, bad joke. Let's go to the magic wall. If you can read this with me, if not, then we'll get the translators to do it, okay? Lots and lots of feedback here. James Mwadegu says, never thought we would have inclusivity to this level. We are having an interview for the deaf. Such a big win. Heko kaka mkubwa. All right. Engineer Lazario says, every public office needs single sign interpreters. Deaf people not getting it easy at Huduma centers. Is that true? Huduma centers is a problem?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Georgine?
Yes.
Monica? Joseph?
Yes.
Yeah. But we have been advocating for even deaf people to be employed and to support other deaf people in the public service in the government offices.
So much to do, huh? Mr. Roboto says, Jeff, my sister is half deaf. She lost her ear long time ago in her childhood when she suffered from tonsillitis. Oof. How does she register for PWD procedure? People with disability, can they register? Is there a way to register for PWD procedure?
Yes. Richard says that this depends on where she lives. She needs to go to registration regional office for the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, and they will guide her. Or she has to go to the medical board. They have to do an assessment, attach some forms, and then she will represent to the National Council, and then she'll be supported.
Is it a long process, Richard? Is it a lengthy process?
Yes.
No. Right now, the new management, the procedure is very, very easy because it is digital. It's very fast.
Excellent. Okay. Robert E. Kering says, watching the two sign language interpreters doing the thing uniformly amazes me. Kudos, sign language, kudos. Well done. Yeah. Onyoyo Vin says, JKLIVE is rocking today. The deaf are the coolest people one may always admire to interact with. May the government create significant awareness in caring for people with disabilities. One love. One love. And Frank Orinda says, the deaf community is a vibrant culture that thrives on the power of human connection through visual language and shared experiences. It is a community that teaches us that true communication is about understanding, not just hearing. Disability is not inability. Wow, well said. Well said. All right, we're going to go around the room and just get some final thoughts going forward, okay? Leah, let's start with you. Your son is watching, he's 12 years old, he can't hear you, he's just, what do you tell him? Can you sign for him just a little bit? Tell him why you're here?
Yeah, he's in school.
Oh, he's in boarding school?
Yeah.
So he's not watching TV?
No.
Oh, okay. So what do you tell parents with kids who are deaf?
Yes, so I would like to tell parents that of deaf children that the best gift that they can give to their children is to learn their language, and in this case is sign language. And for the government, I would tell them that it is very expensive for anyone to learn sign language, and that becomes difficult for parents. If they could come up with a program that would support learning sign language free for parents of children with deafness, that would go a great deal in supporting their children at home and in school. Thank you.
How long did it take you to learn sign language?
It took me an year.
A year?
Yes.
Wow.
But then after that, sign language is more about interaction. Correct. And using the language.
And updating, yes. And all that, huh?
Yes.
It was very expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Victor, what do you tell kids out there who are being raised by deaf parents?
For me, all I would say is that don't take it as a challenge, because for me, every time I will tell people that my parents are deaf, they will apologize. It's not something that you should apologize for, because this is what people face each and every day. Because I would actually tell people my parents are deaf and will be like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Don't be sorry. For all the other people who are interacting with deaf coders, children of deaf adults, please don't. It's not something that we see it as a big deal or something bad. It's normal to us. Like I said, we grew up in this. So what I can say is let's all try to learn the language, even if it's just basic ABCD. That can help a big deal when you interact with them. You will start spelling and it will be very interactive, very engaging, and you will want to learn more. That's what I can say.
Absolutely. Joseph, moving forward.
Moving forward, I'd like to say in my area of profession, which is health, I'd like to request, my humble request is that on health, let's build systems where we have a language that deaf people can use. Without that, deaf people die easily from.
Short and sweet. Nice one. Monica, other than pastries.
For me, I'd say about the cooking area, I have a lot of challenge. I use my hands every time I'm working. So if they are hearing people who are there near me, we keep writing to each other. Teaching sign language is a bit of a challenge for me, so it's very difficult for me to teach sign language. But communication, I just communicate freely, just a bit, because I'm just focused with my hands on deck, just working. And that is not in a bad way, but my hands are on deck, so I'm not able to communicate in sign language when I'm working.
Would it be better if there were more deaf people working in your industry?
Well, yes, I would say yes, I would want more people to come in, but the most important thing is when the deaf people come in and apply for jobs, probably if the management will accept and have them employed, I'd really be happy, because communication with the hearing people is very difficult. There's always a barrier having us communicating. So what do we do? Sometimes they don't know how to communicate with me, so the key thing is communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Georgine.
For me, as an educator, I'll support what Leah has just mentioned. For parents of deaf children, the best gift you can give your deaf child is to learn sign language and to support their education journey. I'm here because I was given an opportunity to go to school, and I also got a lot of support from my family. Without that support, I wouldn't be here. Number two is for the government. We need a lot of deaf teachers to close the gap of lack of language access in early childhood. Deaf children, when they get to school, they need access to someone who can sign so that they can acquire language and be able to progress academically. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Good point. Richard, you get the last word.
Yes. So I'll say two things. Number one, education. Education is key to empower someone to become independent in the future. But for now, Jeff, are you aware that 90% of deaf children, they fail, but you've never seen parents demonstrating in the streets? Because some of them get low grades, but you never seen communities complain. This is the problem. Because the child is not foolish, but the system. Because some teachers cannot even sign. Because sometimes we can call policymakers, the parents, and any person. We must work together and support deaf children excel in education. Secondly, when deaf children perform very well and they learn very well and get skills, the world of employment, we need the society to be inclusive. We need the society to be accommodative to the deaf learners, because these are people that need jobs. Because the Association for the Deaf complains, they say people apply for jobs, but the employers feel that we might need to employ an interpreter. This will be a costly affair. So the deaf person misses this opportunity. So we want to ask the society, please give deaf people opportunity. If they apply for jobs, please give them this opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely. Richard, Georgine, Monica, Joseph, Victor, Leah, and your amazing sign language interpreters here. It's really, really amazing to, lack of a better word, to hear from you tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you're doing for this country. God bless you all, and I hope everything works out well for each and every one of you and your children, your parents, and everyone. A lot tonight I learned that I didn't even know, but it's always good. You're always learning. There's nothing good as always learning, and it's amazing. I hope you guys have learned something as well. Never take anything for granted. Don't scream at your parents. Next time you scream at your parents, maybe they can't hear you. Or you scream at your children and they can't hear you. Most important thing, like my mother used to tell me growing up, count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. How do you say thank you again?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. And thank you. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. J, K, L. L. Upside down, okay. Jeez, it's gonna take me forever. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night, good luck, and God bless all these amazing Kenyans. So inspiring, so amazing, so beautiful. Thank you. Good night.